I'm really happy to see DeadTube picked up by a good translation group. I'm glad it's getting translated monthly. This is a monthly series, and I think it's, getting translated on time. So I'm glad a translation group has decided to pick up the series and translate it, because it's a pretty damn entertaining series. Now, I know this series isn't the most ingenious written series of all time, but it's a pretty damn entertaining series. Like, I want to see where the series is going to go, and I want to see the deep shit that's going to happen to our characters. This is one of the main reasons why I'm actually currently reading this series. And Chapter 8 has came out, so I'm glad we don't have sporadic, chapter releases. Like, 1 month we'll have a chapter, and maybe we won't have a chapter for 3 months. I'm glad the chapters are coming out on a monthly average, because it allows us to continue, reading the series at a decent pace. So, anyways, this chapter 8 of DeadTube, I have to say, this was a really good setup chapter for this new arc of DeadTube, and we get to see a different perspective of DeadTube once again. Now, before I dive into that, I actually want to take a moment to talk about something. So, I don't know if I missed it in the last chapter or not, but I assumed when, if you got the least amount of views, it was everybody that was participating in DeadTube. Like, from what we find out in this chapter, if you don't decide to participate, like, in this side project on DeadTube, like, like, recording Arity the teacher and trying to get, footage of her and trying to get the most views, if you don't participate in it and upload any videos, you won't have to worry if you don't get any views. Like, if you get 0 views, you won't have to worry. I was assuming that anyone that was already a part of DeadTube, like the entire fan base of DeadTube, I was assuming that if they were all participating in this, regardless if they uploaded nothing or not. So, I was assuming that if they were, like, let's say our main characters didn't upload a video or they got 0 views, they would, be punished. So, we kind of find out in this chapter is that if you're not participating or you just don't want to upload a video of this, then you won't have to worry about taking the punishment of those crimes. So, you can kind of back out of DeadTube when you want to. So, I didn't expect that. I really did not expect something like that, so I'm quite shocked to see that. But, and still the point of it is, we see a certain aspect in this chapter that shows a character, Mila, I think that's that girl's name. We find out that this girl has stepped into something she did not realize what she stepped into. Like, she looked at the money, and she's like, ooh, I can make all this money! And then didn't realize the consequences for making all this money. And she is kind of like a standard person you would see in today's society. Like, they look at a fancy contract, or they look at the fancy money they can earn from so-and-so thing they can do, but they don't look at the consequences if you were to do something like this. Like, I mean, let's say you wanted to be a construction worker. I'm not saying, construction working is bad. Don't, put me down on that. I'm not putting it down either. But let's just say you look at the construction workers, I guess, pay. Like, let's say they get paid, oh god, I'm just gonna throw a random number out there. Let's say $5,000 a week, okay? We're just gonna throw that out there. And you, for some reason, don't know what construction work is. Like, when you think of construction work, you're thinking of maybe putting cardboard houses together or something. I know this is a bad analogy, I know it is, but it's like you don't realize what you are getting into when you look at this money. When you look at the paycheck or the money amount, you're not looking at what you have to do or the punishments to that contract, and that is what this girl Mila has done in this chapter. She has started uploading videos on this teacher, and she has stepped into something that is not good. And the way this is being set up, it makes me assume that either A, this girl is going to be a prime example of what happens if you fail DeadTube, if you get 0 views. Maybe she's being set up for that for us as the readers to see what would happen. Or B, she's going to have some form of character development change, and she's probably going to join the group with our cameraman. I'm willing to bet something like that will happen too. One of those two possibilities are going to go down. But the thing was, though, with this chapter, we get the introduction to the teacher that's currently being recorded, along with, some different people that are kind of starting to do things to the teacher. Like, you had one person that broke into the teacher's apartment and put roses all over everything in the apartment, which, like, oh my god, that's creeper status right there. Like, I mean, imagine if you were to walk into your house, okay? Let's say you get off a hard day's work, you walk into your house, and you see roses all over your floor, table, bed, and everything. Like, what would you do? As a human being, what would you think, and what would you do? Like, let's be real here. Instantly, someone broke into your house, and you're like, holy shit, is the person still in my house? Second thing, you were wondering, should you call the police? Like, is this really a bad thing? Like, I mean, someone put roses all in your house. And, like, why? I mean, did they steal anything? That's the question you gotta wonder. But the point is like, the way this is set up, you gotta wonder, like, what type of video was this person trying to make when they were trying to put, you know, all these roses in her apartment. Like, why? Like, what were they trying to accomplish? Because I assumed, like, since, you know, Dead 2 was so violent in the last arc, I assumed that every single video had to be slightly violent, which is not the case. We come to find out in this episode is that you can upload anything. Like, you can upload anything you want, kind of like YouTube, and you can, you know, make any videos. Like, you had it to where the girl, Mila or whatever, she was recording the teacher, and she was recording the teacher's conversation with her at the beginning of the chapter with how many people did you sleep with him? And she's like, oh, I only slept with one and all that. I have high quality romance. Whoa, that bitch slapped from the teacher, by the way. But the point is to see how she recorded that, and when she was trying to get a reaction on the teacher to where the teacher would slap her, that was, I guess it's entertaining in some aspects, and why she was trying to do that, I guess it would cause a lot of views, but this isn't necessarily YouTube. If that was YouTube, like if they were uploading to YouTube, oh god, that video would have millions of views, and then you would have the teacher fired for, you know, student abuse. You would have all sorts of shit like that. So this ain't YouTube, this is DeadTube, and DeadTube expects some violent actions, like, you know, what we saw in the last arc with people getting butchered, cut up, having sex, rape, stuff like that. And so this isn't standard YouTube, so a little bit of a slap from a teacher is not going to cut it. It won't. It's obvious. If it was YouTube, it would, but if it wasn't, since it's not going to cut it. You got to go even further. You got to push the boundary line. You got to push that line. And so, with this, I'm wondering right now, like, what type of videos will we see? It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be, you know, like, death or killing the teacher. Like, I mean, judging by the way it was displayed in this, you know, chapter of DeadTube, it doesn't necessarily mean the teacher will die in the end. It doesn't necessarily mean that. The teacher might survive all the events of everybody recording her, but some bad things and bad shit most likely could happen to her. Maybe she could lose an arm, a leg, maybe she might get raped. I mean, we don't have any idea, but we don't instantly have to assume that she will die at the end of this little arc. We don't have to assume that, because any video can be uploaded as long as if it has the most views. And of course, though, people do anything they want to try to get the most views, so it's kind of likely that the teacher would be killed in the end. It is very likely, but I mean, necessarily she doesn't have to die. She doesn't have to. So yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much the chapter. I enjoyed it. Very fun to read, very entertaining. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.